Okay. Hello, Kinjaro. I'm going to be interviewing you today on your experience at the internment camps. It's nice to meet you.
Same.
Okay. How was your life in the internment camps, to start off with?
You know, it was good at first. It started out okay. It was just a hard transition for all of my family and everything. But once we got in, it was a small barracks. It was really tight, but I guess everything can't be great, especially in these times.
Mm-hmm.
I just wish it wouldn't have been as bad as it was, you know what I mean?
Yes, most definitely. Was all of your family at the camp?
Yeah. It was me, my wife, and my three little kids. And you know, I think the hardest part was just for them leaving their friends and us just having to leave our home, because me and my wife built it on our bare hands. So that was pretty hard. But once we got in, they started the school they had there, so that was good. So at least they had something to do in this hard time.
Yes. What did you and your family do in your free time?
Well, like I said, my three kids, all of them went to school. I worked in the gardens trying to make food, so we had something to go with other than the dull bread, and my wife helped me most days, but I usually let her relax, and it's just pretty hard.
Mm-hmm.
But after a while, it started just becoming my daily routine of going out, gardening, going in, relaxing with my wife, having my kids come home, and then going back out.
Mm-hmm. What internment camp were you located at, and what was it like?
I lived in Poston, Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like it as much as I heard as the other ones. It's because in the summer, in the middle of the day, it'd be scorching temperatures, and then at night it would be freezing. And the guards never gave us enough blankets, so my three girls would always be cold. Mm-hmm. It's just, I know, they've obviously made a mistake in this, mm-hmm. and I forgive them a little bit, but I don't know,
okay.
Not really.
I understand. Were the guards brutal in any way?
You know, they were a little brutal. Like, they'd shove you every once in a while, but I think they're just really strict, and they usually were nice and ask how your day been. And I think they didn't like us being there just as much as we didn't like it, just because they had to give up all their time to be there watching us also. Mm-hmm. I know for a fact they would have loved to have been back with their families. So I think it was just pain for them just as much as it was us.
Mm-hmm. What was your job at the internment camp?
Like I said earlier, I was a gardener. But what I really wanted to do there was be a barber. It was always a little hobby of mine before I came in. I thought it was just nice. Then I'd be able to give the girls haircuts whenever I wanted. And the barber they already had wasn't too good at the job. He'd always mess up, and I remember one time he almost cut my little girl's ear. I didn't really like going there, so I just started cutting her hair whenever I could, but I didn't really have any good things to cut. I just had an old rusty pair of scissors.
Oh. Did you have any dreams that you wanted to fulfill but couldn't because you were at the internment camp?
Well, what I really wanted to do is I wanted to open up my own chain of barber shops. It used to be my hobby, like I said, but just really wanted to make it one of my careers where I could hire people that had the same passion and wanted to have the same dream, and just start this whole new chain of something that people haven't seen before.
Did you ever try to escape from the camp?
I thought about it more than once, and I always thought I would, but then the one thing holding me back would be what would happen to my wife and my children. Mm-hmm. And I knew if I left, who would look after them and what would happen to them, and I knew I just couldn't pin that weight down onto them.
Mm-hmm. What was life like after you returned home from the camp?
When we got on the bus, I remember the first few hours. I remember it was going to be great. It was going to be better than it had ever been until we got home and got to the house where I'd been working on my whole for over 2 years and seeing it destroyed and all of my valuables stolen. And then I knew that I wouldn't be able to start up my business as a barber because I didn't have any money or anything to sell to them to get money to be able to start my own business, which really stunk. And then the worst part was the girls, I couldn't even afford their own schooling.
Oh.
And my wife couldn't be happy because she was always worried about what would happen. We always had to stay at a friend's house. And
I bet that was very hard to endure. When you returned home, did you receive an apology from the government and a sum of money? And did you accept the apology?
I accepted the money just because I knew that was the only way I was going to be able to get my life back on track and help my girls be able to go back to schooling and start my own business and just have some money left around in case of emergencies. But I never accept their apology. I know they were confused, but to ruin that many lives is just not something that anyone should go through, even if it's for the safety of the country. Especially when they don't even know if they're going to or not.
Well, that concludes our interview, so thank you for your time, Kenjaro.
Hello, Kentaro. We're going to be interviewing you about your experiences at the Japanese internment camps.
Okay, let's get started.
What did you think of these camps overall?
Well, overall, I feel that the camps were very, very wrong to put us in. Not all of the Japanese people of Japanese descent were criminals or terrorists, as most Americans labeled us. I felt that I was a normal citizen that went about my daily routine.
How are you treated in these camps?
The treatment was not the best. However, it was not as bad as the Jewish people went through. We were given barracks to sleep in, even though they were very poorly built. We were given food, but not the best tasting in any way. But it kept us from starving.
What were the living conditions like? Were they good or bad?
Well, as I said before, the barracks were really poorly built. They had cots to accompany the number of people in the room, but they were really uncomfortable and really small. The rooms got really hot in the summer and really, really cold in the winter. And for the winter, it only had one stove to heat the entire room, so it got really uncomfortable.
Was the food you were fed good? Did you have the same meal every day? It did consist of the same food, like broccoli.
The food we were fed was not disgusting. It was just very plain. The meals usually consisted of bread and potatoes. We very rarely had poultry, and when we did, it was not very much.
Were some of the members treated different than others?
No, all the members were treated the same. We all ate the same food, had similar jobs, and we slept in the same conditions, so no, I feel that we were all treated the same.
That's good.
No favorites.
How did weather affect the camp?
Weather only affected the way we slept, and a little the way we worked. When it was rainy, we either stayed in, or if it was light rain, we still worked. We fought through winter storms, and we worked through the blazing heat, so we never really just thought much of it.
Were the guards brutal? And was anyone ever killed? And how did you react to it?
The guards were somewhat brutal. They would push and shove sometimes, but nothing over the top. They were just really strict and on top of things. And yes, a person was shot in my camp. They were not killed. they were shot in the leg when they were trying to escape over a fence. That just made everyone a little tense and a little more obedient towards the guards.
What camp were you located at?
I was located at the camp in Missoula, Montana, with over 600 Japanese people. It was very cramped.
What was your daily routine?
My daily routine was pretty much the same as most everyone. I would shower, eat breakfast, go to work, eat lunch, go back to work, eat dinner, spend time with family, and go back to bed.
Very good. Did you go to school or work, right? What did other people do? And were you paid at all for your services?
I didn't go to school. I went to work every day. I worked in the auto shop repairing military vehicles. My children went to school. Men did mostly physical labor. Women tended to the children, so cooked and cleaned clothes and cooked in the mess hall. And I was not paid. I did it because it was out of boredom.
What was the aftermath?
Well, life after this camp was really different. I lost my home, and I lost my job, and I lost everything in my home. So my family and I had to start over. I did find a new job working in an auto parts store. I worked every day, and I saved up enough money to buy a house. Before I bought my house, we lived in many different shelters. After about 50 years, I got an apology from the government and money. I gladly accepted the money, but I sort of accepted the apology. I think they knew their wrongdoing, but it was still just tough with changing all those lives, including mine. And I donated some of the money. I paid for my children's schooling, and I bought a new house, and the rest I saved.
Thank you, Kintara, for your time. I very greatly appreciate it.
Thank you. It was nice to meet you.